The price of RAM has ballooned over these past few months, and I'm not talking about balloon in the sense of you're just blowing up a balloon for a little kid's party. I'm talking about balloon to the point where things have like tripled. Why is RAM the bottleneck of AI training? In order for the GPU and the CPU to communicate quickly, it needs to actually have a lot of RAM in order to like actually send messages and store messages and process information in a rapid rate. GPUs have VRAM on them, but like having extra sources of RAM, like, 64 gigs, 128 gigs, this source of information over here and this tool is what makes this communication so fast. And so when you have an AI model that you're trying to train, like ChatGPT or Claude or something like that, right? We're getting to the point now where GPUs are a bottleneck, right? You need to buy those nice H1000s or, whatever NVIDIA Mr. Jensen Huang's got cooking up. And, these will help you train your models, but an important part of this entire pipeline, and I said the bottleneck of this entire operation, is also the RAM, right? These little bad boys are the linchpin of what makes these guys powerful. And so as a company, the best way for you to essentially get more of a market share, a bigger slice of the pie, is to say like, hey, I'm just going to buy up all of the linchpins. I'm going to make it so that other companies have to fight for their slice of the pie, right? Because let's say, I don't know, OpenAI has some sort of deal that allows them to buy a huge stock or a huge percentage of all the RAM in the world. That means that, to be competitive, these other companies will probably have to pay more, right? Let's do Anthropic, let's do DeepSeek, something, right? Over here, right? They're going to have to pay more in order to get this slice of the pie. But guess who's the guy who is getting screwed in this situation? Well, my friends, that is us. We are the people who are not going to be able to access these nice sticks of RAM over here. And it's translating to not only like building your own PCs and making your own AI farms or whatever. It's translating to pretty much all devices. Guys, every single computer, your phone, your 3D printer, everything that essentially has an onboard PC uses some sort or some type of RAM. And the fact that, these big AI companies are buying up all the best stuff means that we're pretty much going to get left with the scraps. I don't think you understand how expensive RAM is right now. This is a chart from PC Part Picker. Guys, DDR 6000, this is the current RAM I have in my PC right now. I built my PC, 2 or 3 years ago. It has almost, quadrupled in price? It's like $700 right now. I bought it for like around 200, maybe like 175 on Black Friday. Think about that. Quadruple in price. So if you guys didn't know, the recent Steam machine, right? Valve's brand new flagship PC, solves all your problems, like beautiful hardware. I have a Steam Deck sitting right there. Has not been able to actually get concrete pricing because of this RAM issue. Why are we at the highest ever with video game consoles? You used to be able to build a PC for $700, but now all you can get is a Xbox Series X. So the only way that you can fight is essentially either, making good relationships with people. Let's say you got a homie up at Micro Center, he's going to give you the right deals. Or, being a part of these companies that get access to these devices or these hardwares or whatever, right? TikTok owner sacks intern for sabotaging AI project. There was some student who was trying to use ByteDance's AI tooling and AI laboratory equipment in order to train either one of his AI startup things or do something like that. But listen, isn't that like a sign of kind of the times, right? When things get tough and all the resources get pooled to a certain portion or place or something like that, it's going to be, again, hard for average and normal people to now get access to the opportunities that these tools or these things would bring, right? So let's say someone who's never gotten access to the internet before, right? They've never even seen or touched a PC in their life, and they pretty much grow up their entirety of their life not knowing how to use a PC to educate themselves. The issue is that you can say like, hey, they're smartphones. You can still like do other things. You can still learn from other sources, right? It's not impossible to learn without a PC. But hey, it is harder, right? Like it's harder for people to get more opportunities with less stuff, right? Sure, you can become an expert on AI research by reading books and by, spending a lot of time thinking about, I don't know, AI models and AI theory and stuff like that. But if you don't have the actual hardware to train the models and test your hypotheses, then you're probably not going to get too far. And that's kind of what's happening, right? It's always the same story. It's like the rich get richer and the people who have the most opportunity at the top pretty much take the entire share. And that's this thing called the power law, right? It's like most average people probably get like average results throughout their life, and everything's like fine, as you go down the bend, everything's fine, you get the best results. But then as soon as you get to this like 1% over here, right, the amount of results that you get is like, it scales insanely. This is kind of the idea of like, oh, if you make $100,000, you can pretty much make $1 million that much quicker. It's just this first $100,000 that's like the hardest part, right? And so the point I'm trying to make is like in this case with the RAM, in this case with PC parts, this happened with GPUs a couple of years ago. It's just going to keep going to the point where the market is going to be defined by who has the most amount of money and who's willing to pony up the most. And guess what? I don't have as much money as Anthropic or OpenAI, so that means that I probably won't be able to afford or do the things that they're doing. And that's kind of like the battle between open source and enterprise. I don't know if you guys saw, but Anthropic just bought some open source software. They're also planning on IPOing soon. But Anthropic is completely closed source, and other models like DeepSeek are open source, but they kind of mess around with your privacy a little bit because they are from different Chinese labs, right? And China has different rules and regulations on how things work over there, so I'm not going to really comment too much on that. But what I do know is that, hey, in order for people to learn and for us to get better, we have to probably, as an entire society, as a culture, give more opportunities to people to pull themselves up. And that's what I think should happen, right? Like, we should be able to give a lending hand to our brothers and sisters and say, hey, let me help you get access to a GPU, and let me help you, donate something so that I can get these people more opportunities so they can, reach higher and go higher. But that's not really the case always. Usually the case is it's that companies, they aren't being greedy, but they just have to fight like for the market share, and they'll do anything to fight. And that causes prices to increase. Because again, as consumers, we are not the lion's share. We are like that much in terms of like how much effect we have on the market. This is how much money people buying gaming PCs make companies, and I would say like, let's say this is how much money freaking people who are making like AI data centers and whatever are making for these companies that make the RAM and all that stuff like that. So yeah, will we be able to afford RAM? Probably, right? We can always, either make more money, or we can buy from different sources, find some sort of way to get a deal or something like that. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's pretty much just the way that the world works, that hey, if a company needs a resource more than a consumer does, then the market has to realign itself to be priced for those enterprises and for those consumers, right? The consumer is always going to get the bad end of the deal, and the person who owns the billion-dollar company doesn't really care all too much because they're making money. They're making money hand over fist. And that's not a bad thing. That's just the way the world works. That's the video. Thanks.